Welcome to the Making College Affordable podcast with me, Jason Fleury, certified financial planner professional and college planning specialist. I'm about to show you the inside secrets colleges don't want you to know and help you become a more educated consumer when it comes to paying for college. I believe you should enjoy the journey of allowing your kids to pursue their dreams without having to sacrifice yours. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. So let's get started. Hey guys, it's Jason Fleury, and I am so happy to welcome you back to episode number 9 of the Making College Affordable podcast. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be back with you again to share more of the game-changing experiences and expertise that I've learned over the past 20 plus years as a certified financial planner professional and college planning specialist. Now today I've got a topic for you that comes up often in conversations that I have with families, and it's one of those things that you may have certainly heard of, but probably don't fully understand. And that's early action versus early decision. And more importantly, which one is best and why should you use either one as a part of your application strategy? Well, before we get too deep into this topic, let's go back and take a look at something that will lay the groundwork for everything else I'm going to cover with you today. Colleges work on a calendar year that begins July the 1st. And application season is one of the very first things they do in their new year. Now, most colleges are not ready to start receiving applications over the 4th of July weekend, so many times you don't see application season really begin until about August 1st. Some colleges will push applications back into September, and then application season can run all the way out to March or April of the following year. Now, there are different types of admission policies that some colleges have. One type that you may see is called rolling admissions. And in those situations, the college will pretty much receive applications anytime year-round, and usually they'll get back to you within just a few weeks to let you know if you've gotten in or not. So whenever you see a rolling admission policy in place, that gives you a lot of flexibility on your end. But what you see more commonly is an early action and early decision format that's built around a series of deadlines. While the regular admission deadline might be, say, at the end of the year, an early action deadline may be as early as October 1st or October 15th, possibly around November 1st. So basically what early action means is that you're prepared, you're ready to go, and you want to get your application in while the whole freshman class is wide open. Now, I like this idea for a lot of reasons. First of all, when you submit your application, there's a real human being on the other side that's going to be reviewing that. Now, that person's just come off their summer break. They're happy about their job as an admission counselor again because there's no pressure, and they haven't read the same essay 3,000 times that answers the same boring prompt. Now, these folks are also trained to look for certain things in applications. So if you can understand what that college is after, chances are pretty good that you're going to get a better result with the person that's reviewing that application simply by getting to them early. We really kick off application season for our seniors around August 1st, and the goal is to have everything completed as far as admission applications are concerned as best we can by the end of September. So there's really very few early action deadlines that we find at October 1st, but if we can set our own arbitrary deadlines, we're never up against any real deadlines or the stress or the pressure that goes along with them. Now that's important for you as you're trying to apply for college, but you have to also think about that person behind the scenes. What do you imagine happens at the college level, let's say 48 hours before a real deadline? Well, I can tell you what happens. Chaos ensues. Because those folks know that deadlines motivate people. And you can almost feel them bracing for the impact as they know that everything's getting ready to come crashing in those couple days before that deadline happens. Now, in our planning strategy, we're trying to get to these people while they're in a good mood and while they've got a lot of freedom and flexibility to give you what you're looking for, which is a seat at the college of your dreams. Do you really want to send your application in to somebody who's going to be stressed out and probably completely overwhelmed about what the next 2 days and maybe the next several weeks is going to look like at their workplace? Of course not. You want to catch them while they're in a much better position to give you what you're looking for. So I usually recommend early action for those reasons. And there's other reasons too. If you apply early, you tend to hear back from the colleges early. On a rolling admission basis, like I said, you could hear back within just a couple of weeks after you apply. That's always good. But on early action, you may hear back sometime in November, maybe early December. Usually your early admission announcement dates are falling somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. So it's really nice to hear back from those colleges to see where you stand with them in your applications. And that way, if you need to make any kind of adjustments, you still have time to complete other applications before their regular decision admission deadlines pass. If you don't make it into an early action round, you're probably going to be automatically deferred over into a regular decision pool, and hopefully you won't be rejected. But it happens sometimes. There can be different rounds of early action as well. There can be early action 1 and early action 2. And depending on the college and whatever their timeline is, sometimes they just break it up like that to spread out their workload. Most colleges will fill somewhere between 45 and 60% of their seats in these early action rounds. So you need to pay attention to them, and you need to try to get your reservations in place while they have a lot of room available. Otherwise, what you may find is that you've got a great application, but there's only 10 or 15% of the seats left at that particular college. The college admission officer also has a pretty good feel during their regular decision periods what the crop is going to look like that year. And maybe you would have been a great candidate early, but now they see just how competitive things are going to be, and they just can't find room for you. And here's another thing a lot of people don't realize. If you apply early, and you do meet the criteria and objectives that the college is looking for, and let's say they give you a spot in their admission class for next year, what if somebody comes along, say a couple of months later, and they're more qualified than you are? Is that college admission officer going to go back through the list and say, well, this person's better than that person, and I'm going to bump this first person off the list and really make room for this more qualified person here? No, they don't actually do it that way. What they're looking at that point is, how many seats do I have left? And I definitely want to make sure that this person gets in. So it's kind of like booking a hotel reservation or an airline reservation. Once those seats are filled, those folks are usually along for the ride. And that's another reason that you want to get in early. So basically that gives you a gist of how early action works. And I would encourage you to apply early whenever possible. Set your own arbitrary deadlines that are maybe a week or two ahead of any real deadlines in case something weird comes up. The dog gets sick, the car breaks down, things get busy at home or at school. There's just no reason to ever be up against a real deadline. It's too stressful for you. It's way too stressful for them. So now let's take a few minutes and talk about early decision. If you understand how early action works, early decision is pretty much exactly the same thing, except for one important distinction. When you apply early decision, not only are you wanting to hear back early, but when you do get their answer, if they accept you, then it's a binding arrangement. You've basically said, if you'll accept me, I'm yours. So because of that, you can only apply to one college on an early decision basis. And these elections that you make are really just a box that you check on the application. So you want to think through this carefully as you're beginning the application process and planning out how you want to implement your strategy. In addition to being a binding arrangement with these colleges, there can also be something called restrictive early decision. And pretty much what that means is if you're going to apply early at that school as an early decision candidate, not only can you not apply early decision anywhere else, because if you got accepted early decision in both schools, you could only attend one, right? But this restrictive early decision says that not only can you not apply early decision anywhere else, but you may not even be able to apply to any other similar colleges until the college that you've applied to on their restrictive early decision process has decided what they want to do with you. So let's say that you've got some public schools on your list and you've got a few private colleges on your list. And one of the colleges that you see out there is really by far your first choice. So you say, well, I'm going to apply early decision there. But you find out they have a restrictive early decision policy. And that policy says you can go ahead and apply to those other state schools, but you can't apply to any other private universities until they've made their decision. Well, by the time that all comes to pass, it may be November or December, and what's happened at all those other private universities that were near the top of your list as well? Well, they filled 40 or 50 or 60% of their seats, and now you're having to come back disappointed that you didn't get in early decision and having to try to make yourself stand out in a very crowded field late in the game. So early decision is a good strategy to use, but you have to be very careful with how you use it. And here's another thing about early decision. If you've done your planning well, and you figured out what you're looking for in the ideal college, and you figured out what that college is looking for in an ideal candidate, With the right approach and the right timing, you might find that you have a huge advantage by applying early decision. Let's say one of the most competitive schools on your list only accepts like 12% of their applicants. But you find that in early decision, they accept 35% of those applications. Well, if you know that's the school for you and you know how you're going to pay for it and you've done everything to your advantage to be able to set yourself apart as the logical choice for them, statistically speaking, you've got a 3 times better chance of getting in if you apply early decision than if you go with early action or regular admissions. So when you find those kind of disparities between regular admission rates and early decision admission rates, it could definitely be something that you want to add to the mix. You just have to know in advance that that particular college is going to work out because it's a binding arrangement. And if you get to a point to where you've been accepted there and then maybe you can't afford it or you change your mind, well, that could put you in a real bind. The colleges can sometimes be gracious if they see that you can't afford to come, and they can let you out of that binding arrangement. But there are a lot of warnings and disclosures when you send in that application that say they certainly don't have to. If you got yourself in a situation where you got in but you couldn't afford to go there, you might find yourself taking a gap year or getting a part-time job for the fall semester until you could apply to another college for their spring semester. I'm sure that's not a part of your college plan. Now here's the other thing about early decision. I want you to know about it. I just want you to know enough about it that you can use it effectively. And in situations where you've applied early decision, if for some reason you didn't get in as an early decision applicant, you wouldn't have gotten in anyway. So if you've done your homework and you haven't made mistakes on your application, early decision can be a huge advantage. And as long as any kind of restrictions that go along with early decision are not too limiting with the rest of the applications that you're working on, it might be something that you want to consider. Now, another question people ask me all the time is, which colleges offer early decision? Usually I find more private universities have early decision options on their applications than public universities do. But that's not always the case. So you just want to check on the admissions tab of the college's website, or if you plan on using the common application or coalition application or universal application, one of those common types of applications, you might find on there, and probably even on the college's direct application if they're offering one, that there's a box to check on which election to make. The only time I think you wouldn't want to apply early action or early decision is if you have something coming along later in the year that could give you a better advantage and position you better in the eyes of the college admission officer than if you applied early. Sometimes that's a higher test score. Sometimes you're waiting to get your gold award with Girl Scouts or maybe complete your Eagle project as a Boy Scout. Maybe there's some other kind of distinction that won't be announced for a few more months and it's significant enough that it would be worth waiting for. In those situations, you just have to weigh out the outcomes and make your own decision. But for everybody else, whenever possible, apply early and then be early even in that early action or early decision window just so that you're in the best position possible. Applying early action can give you a distinct advantage in the college application process. And applying early decision, if you've prepared for it properly, could be the difference in getting in and missing the boat with the number one college on your list. So now you know about both, and you can use both as effective tools in your college planning toolbox. They'll help you get what you're looking for faster and with better results. And who doesn't want that, right? In next week's episode, I'm going to begin sharing some insights on how you can master the essay and short answer portions of the college application. I'm going to show you how to tell your story like a pro and elevate your application to the highest levels possible with ease and confidence, just like a college planning specialist would do. So get your early action and early decision plans together for now, and be sure to be back here for more essential college planning strategies next week. You're not going to hear this kind of insider secrets anywhere else, and it's just what you need to hear at just the right time. I guarantee it. I hope you've enjoyed and benefited from today's show. If you like what you've heard, please give us a good rating wherever you get your podcasts and share us with your friends. Also, if you have any specific questions or comments about anything we've covered today, email those questions to podcast@mycollegeplanners.com. You can also visit our website at mycollegeplanners.com to get personalized recommendations on how to make college more affordable and learn how working with a college planning specialist can improve your life. Thanks again for listening today. I look forward to seeing you again soon.